your true value. Mary Kay Cosmetics, Pappy's Handcrafted Candles, Polly's Leggings and Gifts, Town Square Restaurant, and Beaver County Radio.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
I love when I learn new things. I learned a new word today. We'll get to that. First, let's get to the point. Josh KAIL is here. It's Rapping with the Reps. Josh, good morning. This is being live streamed. If you've got questions for Josh, you can post them in the comment section on our Facebook page where this is being live streamed. And you can also call 724-843-1888 or 774-1888. My first question to you, sir. Do you know the definition of the word chuggy? Chuggy.
I'm not sure I've ever heard of chuggy.
Okay, good. That means you're a mature adult. It's one of those young kid words. It's the opposite of trendy. Chuggy.
Huh.
Okay.
So
I got nothing else for you today.
Behind the times.
Behind
chuggy.
the times, yes. Yeah. If you carry a wallet,
I'm chuggy.
You're chuggy.
I'm definitely chuggy. I have a lot of chuggy. I mean, my shirt's probably chuggy. My chuggy. I'm not getting punked here. This is an actual thing.
Man, you were
getting a little nervous.
You were so far down on the list of people that I would mess with. Are you kidding me?
So if I tell my son, like, hey, you're looking kind of chuggy today, he'll know what I'm talking about?
That would be, you would be talking
You're making
bad.
me feel old now. I used to be the guy that knew all the hip lingo. Now I'm just an old-timer.
Do you call it a wallet or a billfold?
It's a wallet.
Okay, it's a wallet. Was your dad carrying a wallet or a billfold? My dad, can't leave the house, got to get my billfold.
Oh, it's a wallet. But my dad, when we put everything in the ice box.
Okay.
Put it in the ice box. You know, we had a record player. Didn't actually have one, but we always called it a record player.
Phonograph, yes. Yeah. You carrying a wallet apparently makes you chuggy. Yeah, you're no longer up with the cool stuff because of that. I had to get schooled up by my daughter.
I like chuggy, okay.
I'm comfortable with it. If you're chuggy long enough, according to my daughter, you're retro.
Yeah.
And when you're retro, you can sell the shirts on.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then we'll start wearing bell bottoms and everything like that. And
all right.
Maybe get a mullet going. I think you'd look great in a mullet.
I did.
You should do it again. Relive it.
Right.
You want to grow it together?
Says the man with a head full of glorious hair to the man with a none.
We'll do business up front, party in the back, buddy. Let's do it.
It is Rapping with the Reps. We're talking about words we don't understand. No, we're not. You released a press release yesterday. Please, for the people that didn't read it, summarize or say it again, and then I want to ask you questions about it. Is that okay?
Yeah. So yesterday, the press release you're referring to has to deal with the governor's, our response to the governor's budget. So every year, the governor gives a budget proposal of what he wants in the budget. And quite frankly, Eddie, I've become quite frustrated with the governor and his budget proposal this time around was another example of why I'm frustrated with the governor. The governor a year and a half ago ran on tax cuts. He ran on school choice. He ran on permitting reform, government reforms. He ran on developing energy jobs and manufacturing assets. And now he's putting forth yet again another budget that has nothing to do whatsoever with the promises that he ran on, with what he told people he was going to do when he was running for governor. He said that he was going to run as a moderate or be a moderate governor that supported these different things.
I remember there were things he said that I thought, well, I didn't expect to hear that. There were those things. That ain't what's happening, is it?
No, it's not. He's governing like a California Democrat. And there's all kinds of reasons for this. There's all kinds of, political ramifications. But at the end of the day, what we are seeing is that this governor has no clothes. And he is saying one thing, doing another, and it's so obvious what he's doing in front of us at the legislature, and it's going to be obvious as well as this gets litigated publicly to the general public, that he's just selling something that wasn't what he was intending on doing. And it's unfortunate because there's a problem with elected officials. I think there's a problem across the board, whether it's Republican or Democrat. Inauthentic individuals running for office, telling you what you want to hear, knowing what the general public wants to hear, and then once they get in office, doing something that's completely different. And unfortunately, with this governor, it's been a year, and there's more time. It's still relatively early, but he is great at putting out a press conference. He's great about talking about economic development. He's great about talking about what needs to happen, and he uses all the buzzwords. He talks about the things that do need to occur, but then when it comes time to actually do something, he doesn't do it. He doesn't advocate for it. He's just talking about far left ideals that he wants to push in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I'm not excited about the nearly $50 billion budget that he is proposing. When I first came into office, the budget was somewhere in the mid 30 billions.
How long ago was that?
That was only 5 years ago.
So we've gone from 30 billion to 50 billion.
34, I believe what my first budget was, mid 30s.
Okay.
To about 50 billion, and the spending is completely out of hand. And what's going to happen, and it's being subsidized now by COVID money that's still out there, but they're adding it to the general fund, which is going to significantly raise our taxes down the road. But I think the more frustrating part are the initiatives. I mean, he's talking about new taxes. Mm-hmm. He's talking about bloating bureaucracy, expanding certain bureaucratic agencies, and he's talking about padding a status quo in the education space. Look, we all know that there needs to be more education funding, but that doesn't mean we just keep throwing money at a problem. We have to find solutions and use our brains to solve problems and increase resources for education. By the way, the governor campaigned on that.
Yes,
he said
did.
He was going to do just that, and there was absolutely no mention. In fact, within his budget, he promised to cut school choice programs and initiatives for parents across the Commonwealth. It's disappointing to me to see this. It's something that we're going to be advocating against and reminding people that this is what he promised us, and now this is what he is delivering, and it is not consistent whatsoever with what he promised. So, hey, look, I know it's politics, and I know I ought to be expecting this, but it's still unfortunate when you see it, and it's not how we ought to run our politics, quite frankly.
Josh KAIL, state representative, is my guest this morning on Teleforum. This is being live feeded as well on our Facebook page. I didn't know something existed until recently, and I don't know near enough about it to get pointed with the questions. You will understand this. There is $11 billion, $14 billion sitting somewhere in a lockbox, metaphorically. What is that?
So it's the rainy day fund.
Okay,
it's the rainy day fund. We've been putting reserves away. Really, a lot of the funds came from our COVID monies, and there's ways that. There's ways that those funds could be used. I think what we ought to be looking at is infrastructure projects, one-time projects across the Commonwealth that need to happen. We have bridges, we have roads that need to be redone. The sentiment that is just sitting there is something that we ought to consider. We ought to find ways to put those resources to use that'll grow our economy. Or how about better yet, if we have too much money, let's give the money back to the taxpayers. Let's cut taxes. Let's let people know that we appreciate the hard work. We want people here in Pennsylvania. But this idea that we're going to put it into individual line items, give the impression to people that we have the resources to do this when we don't actually have the revenue streams for it. We just have savings. Once those savings run dry, there's going to be a fiscal cliff. And once we hit that fiscal cliff, we're either going to have to cut or revert back to previous spending limits, or we're going to have to raise taxes, neither of which anyone's going to want to do in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We can prevent that from happening now. We can prevent it from happening now by putting forth a responsible budget, not a budget full of wish list items. It's been a frustrating week. It's been a frustrating couple of months. Frankly, it's been a frustrating year. I think there's a lot of optimism coming into this administration and the willingness to work and to be somebody that was really looking for the benefit of the Commonwealth. He talked about getting out of the energy tax on our electricity, the regional greenhouse gas initiative in the campaign. He refuses to do it. His administration appealed the court that said this isn't constitutional. So he says one thing on the campaign trail and does another thing when he actually gets into office. He basically ran as a moderate, and now he's governing as a California Democrat. And quite frankly, it's completely unacceptable, and we need to make sure that the governor and any other elected official, if you hold yourself out as something, that's what they're voting on. That's what people are making decisions on based off what you said. And the fact that you say something and then totally ignore it, completely ignore it, is just,
is the media questioning him in Harrisburg about these things?
Not like they should be. Not like they should. I think they're wooed by his Obama impersonation.
Really?
I think his whole persona woos the media out there. I think they're a little bit starstruck, frankly. It's pathetic, actually. Because let me tell you something, Eddie, and I'm not to get partisan on you, but let me tell you, if a Republican governor candidate would have put forth initiatives that were considered traditionally be Democrat initiatives, and then got into office and totally ignored them, he would be grilled every single day. There wouldn't even be a 100-day grace period. They would be grilling him. And they're just so wooed by him now because he's slick. Let me tell you, the guy knows production. The guy's very good. He understands the whole game of production, and he has aspirations, and I think the local media wants to keep that in mind too. He thinks he's going to be president one day.
Really?
Oh yeah, but and that's fine, and we're all allowed to have aspirations. That doesn't bother me. And by the way, I'm being facetious and I'm sarcastic. The guy is very good at the political game.
Yes,
he is excellent, very talented at the politics of it, the slickness of it, the production of it. But he's all show. He's no action. There's no production. There's no delivery whatsoever. Look at what he's still talking about, his accomplishments, Eddie. He's talking about fixing a bridge that the Philadelphia building trades fixed as his accomplishment for his administration.
He has talked far longer about fixing the bridge than it took to fix the bridge.
Name one piece of legislation that he has championed and got through the House. Something that he has actually transformative that he's done.
Has he helped fix the hole?
He vetoed his own campaign promise.
Has he helped fix the hole in the roof yet? What's up with that?
No, the roof is still leaking, Eddie. The roof's still leaking. That's his agency too that's doing that. Look, all kidding aside, we have things that need to get done in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and there is a broad understanding amongst the general public that these things need to get done. And the way you know that is because that's what the administration campaigned on. And it's becoming very, very clear now that the only reason they campaigned on it is because they knew it was popular. And it's popular because people understand what we need in this Commonwealth to move us forward. And unfortunately, this governor's unwilling to do it.
After we take care of news, my next question is going to be, what's the next step? Josh KAIL is my guest, state representative. It's Rapping with the Reps. It's chuggy.
Chuggy.
Well, you got a chuggy situation. It is no longer hip in Harrisburg. Is that what you're saying?
It's chuggy. It's very chuggy.
It's chuggy. More with Josh after news. It's Teleforum, a chuggy Teleforum.
Do you wish that you had the support of a family in your financial institution? You can when you become a family member at Friendly Federal Credit Union. This is Cindy Haladio. During February, the month of showing love and appreciation, Friendly Federal Credit Union wants to show you how true it really is. If you haven't already, apply for membership at Friendly Federal Credit Union with offices in Ellicott and Baden. Enjoy low or no fees with your account, favorable terms and interest rates, and the added benefit of putting money back into your community. What are you waiting for? It's time for a family reunion. Join the thousands of other local people who are already part of the friendliest family in Beaver County. The member owners at the place that makes more sense for you. Friendly Federal Credit Union. Member NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
Friendly Federal Credit Union. You got a friend.
Listen to Beaver County Radio Wednesday, February 14th from 9 until noon for a special Valentine's Day edition of The Time Machine with Frank Sparks and me, Eddie Crow. Hour 1 will be sponsored by Rosalind Candy Castle in New Brighton, celebrating the greatest love songs from the big screen. One lucky listener will win a heart-shaped box full of chocolates courtesy of Rosalind. Hour 2 and 3 are being brought to you by East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Save. Frank and I will celebrate the greatest love songs of all. We'll also be giving away 2 baskets, one for Dinner Inn, courtesy of East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Save, along with True Value inside of East Rochester Shop and Save. The second basket is full of goodies from local retailers over a $200 value. See a picture of the basket on our Facebook page. The special edition of The Time Machine on Beaver County Radio is being brought to you by Rosalind Candy Castle, East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Saves, along with East Rochester True Value, Mary Kay Cosmetics, Pappy's Handcrafted Candles, Polly's Leggings and Gifts, Town Square Restaurant, and Beaver County Radio.
It's always the right time to shop the Hopewell Shopping Center, no matter what the season, no matter what the reason. It's truly your neighborhood shopping place with such a large variety of businesses that offer food, shopping, fine dining and quick serving restaurants, personal services, and recreation. The Hopewell Shopping Center will be your one stop for everything you need whenever you need it. Just click on beavercountyradio.com, the Hopewell Shopping Center merchant directory, for a complete look of merchants today, and get shopping at your neighborhood shopping place, the Hopewell Shopping Center. Love is in the air, and Valentine's Day is just around the corner. Why fight the crowds by going out to dinner? Cook dinner at home and let the East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Save be your one-stop shop for you to spoil your Valentine. For starters, at the East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Save, you can get your sweetheart flowers for the table and beer or wine to sip on as you wait for the main course. They have surf and turf, as well as a variety of steaks, seafoods, and chicken, along with everything else that you need for that special meal. The bakery at East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Saves has treats as sweet as your sweetheart, like heart-shaped mini cupcakes and chocolate chip cookies. They also have Valentine-themed cakes, cupcakes, and pastries of multiple varieties. Finish that up with that perfect greeting card, and you will be set for the perfect romantic evening at home. While at East Rochester Shop and Save, take a look at the True Value Hardware. They have everything you need for your next project. That's the East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Saves.
Do you like sports? Then tune in every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for One Man's Opinion on Sports with Brian Pasquale. Brian is loaded with statistics and interesting sports viewpoints. The show can also be seen on the WBVP-WNBA Facebook page. Plus, Brian will be taking your calls as well. That's One Man's Opinion on Sports with Brian Pasquale. Every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. on Beaver County Radio. Beaver County Radio's news source, 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Good morning. On this Thursday, February 8th, 2024, warmer temperatures remain, but cloudy skies will replace sunny skies today. High near 58 degrees. We'll go over the full details of your Beaver County weather forecast following this look at news. The Freedom Borough Volunteer Fire Department cleared up concerns over safety and training compliance with the Borough Council Wednesday evening. Here's Beaver County Radio's Curtis Walsh with more.
At the Freedom Borough Council meeting Wednesday evening, the Freedom Volunteer Fire Department was questioned by council on their compliance with state regulations. The borough was recently sent a letter that allegedly suggested the department was out of compliance and did not have proper training. The letter was said to be sent by a disgruntled former member of the department. According to council, their questioning and investigation of the department was done as a precautionary measure. When the department was asked about training certifications, Fire Chief Harry Gilarno relayed that modern firefighting training programs are long in duration comparative to a college course. Gilarno said that it is hard for volunteer firefighters to have the time to take such a course. Years ago, Beaver County had a fire school training program that many older members of the department received lifelong certifications from. Currently, Butler County still has a training program, and some newer members of the department have taken their courses there. Ultimately, Pennsylvania policy does not require special certification of firefighters and allows policies to be made within the firehouse.
This is how screwed up Pennsylvania is. You got a CDL to drive a truck and air brakes. But if they put a CDL on it, hey, I'm not spending $150 and worrying about my driver's license. So now they have nobody to drive the truck, so the state says, oh, well, we're gonna waive it, you don't need it. Okay, what certifications you gotta have? And Nick sent all you guys the letters and the lies and all that, because he's a disgruntled employee. You gotta have firefighter one. You don't got firefighter one. You gotta have this, you gotta have that. But the state's trying to push that, but if they push it, I'm gonna say, I ain't getting firefighter one, he ain't getting firefighter one, he ain't getting firefighter one, they're losing people. Yeah. So there's no requirements, if you get technical, it's what your requirements are in-house.
According to legal representation, the current operations of the Freedom Borough Volunteer Fire Department were found to be in compliance with no legal concerns to the borough. Following the nearly 2-hour-long discussion, Chief Gilarno relayed to council that Freedom and Conway Fire Departments are in the early stages of considering a merger. More discussions on the subject are set to be taking place in the near future. The full story can be read at beavercountyradio.com. From Freedom, this is Curtis Walsh reporting for Beaver County Radio News.
The Brighton Township Fire Department will be hosting a child passenger safety technician class on Thursday afternoon from 1 until 3 p.m. at their headquarters at 84 Grange Road in Beaver. The event will offer any participants a free inspection of their car's safety belts by local firefighters, but those interested must set up an appointment within the 2-hour time frame in order to receive an inspection. To make an appointment, please call Kristen Urso at 412-885-0266 or email her at kursa@paAAP.org for available times. Congressman Chris DeLuzio sent a letter to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen to propose guidance for the Inflation Reduction Act 45V Clean Hydrogen Production Tax Credit. DeLuzio believes that the inclusion of this technology in the IRA's incentives is required by the law's clear language and is integral for the industry's workforce and the successful build-out of a clean energy future relying on hydrogen. DeLuzio also believes that the IRA's incentives must include pink hydrogen derived from nuclear facilities like the Beaver Valley Power Station. DeLuzio wanted to address 3 main issues in his letter sent to Secretary Yellen. First acknowledgement was the 45V Clean Hydrogen Production Tax Credit should include blue hydrogen power as an eligible power source for the incentive. Second, he wanted to address the timing requirement for facilities to begin operations that are too short to be feasible. Lastly, he writes that the restriction of the tax credit should only apply to nuclear plants. DeLuzio used all of his resources as he wrote a letter to President Biden calling for the president and his administration to reconsider restrictions that could hinder job creating and carbon-neutral hydrogen projects. Wall Street edged lower before markets opened. One day after the S&P 500 came within a fraction of reaching 5,000 for the first time. Futures for the S&P 500 inched back 0.2% before the bell, while futures for the Dow were effectively unchanged. Markets remain mostly focused on corporate earnings, although more turbulence in the regional banking sector continues to rattle investors. New York Community Bancorp slid again early Thursday, falling 4.9%. About half its value has been wiped out since it surprised the industry last week with a loss. Disney jumped almost 8% at pre-market after posting stronger than expected first quarter earnings.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Clouds in the mix today, but we stay dry as temperatures will climb to the mid to upper 50s. More clouds tonight with a slight chance of rain in the early morning hours with lows of around 45. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
That's a look at news for now. I'm Matt Durzik for Beaver County Radio News, 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and streaming worldwide at beavercountyradio.com.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with Eddie Crow.
25 minutes till 10 o'clock. First hour this morning, and that first half hour flew. My goodness. Josh KAIL, state representative, is with me. It's the Rapping with the Reps that we do. The other reps were not available to do this, and I'm glad because you filled up that first half hour quick. How do we fix it? Isn't that the question?
Wait, what was that word again that we were talking about? Chuggy. I got to make sure I remember that as I go back home and talk to my children about how chuggy I am.
Chuggy means you're not
how
hip.
we fix it immediately in the first 6 months. This budget is going to get finalized here by June, hopefully by the end of June. Last year it took us till December. This year I do anticipate that we'll have a budget by the end of June. Who knows? We'll see.
Why do you anticipate that if it took till December?
Because it's an election year. And
okay.
people want to get home and go talk to their constituents. And usually in election year, it's a blander budget because people don't want to vote on controversial things, all this other stuff, right? I'm not saying that's how it should be. That's not a normative statement. That's an empirical statement. I'm just telling you through my experience. And with the Democrats now with a one-seat majority in the state house, actually, right now it's even. There's a special election coming up, but that's kind of been their MO. Is they are playing a political game here. So look, this is the answer. First 6 months, we do everything we can to make sure that this is a responsible budget. And our team is in place advocating for just that. Our leadership team in the House, our team across the board, our caucus, is uniformly upset with the direction of this budget. Spends too much, doesn't do anything that the governor promised he was going to do, trying to turn our state more into a California type of situation. But right now, in the state house, Democrats at the beginning of this session have a one-seat majority, right? That's how it started, 102 to 101. November 5th is coming. November 5th is coming. It's closer than we think. And what we're going to do once we do take the majority back, and we're going to end up taking the majority back because the leadership that we've seen coming out of the House has been really just poor and unorganized and not effective. What we're going to do is pass initiatives that make sense for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. What we're going to do is give parents choices in education. We're going to fund education across the board. We're going to make sure that there's opportunities for family-sustaining jobs. We're going to actually follow through on the things the governor campaigned on. Expediting tax cuts, regulatory reform, things that the governor spoke of a year and a half ago. We're going to get us out of this energy tax. You know, the governor said when he was campaigning that now is not the time to enter into this regional greenhouse gas initiative, an initiative that is a 30% energy tax that is going to reduce zero emissions in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. In fact, I would argue it'll increase emissions because it'll drive demand for pollution coming from China because our manufacturers won't be able to afford to make things here and they're going to get offshored again. Places like China and India, and the carbon that those manufacturers emit are so much more than the carbon that our manufacturers are the cleanest manufacturers on the globe. We should be doing it here and leading the way.
Very few people know that.
Yeah, and it's very unfortunate. I mean, that we clothe ourselves in green righteousness, but all we're actually doing is driving demand for Chinese pollution. So we're going to get that done as well, and we're finally going to get government more efficient. We're into welfare reform, permit reform, things. You know, we talk about the how slow government operates. We need government to actually start moving at the pace of business. And these are all things that the governor promised. These are all things that he said that he was going to do. When he was running for governor, basically running as a Republican, by the way, but when he was running for governor and promised these things. So what we're going to do once we get the majority back is either turn the governor into the moderate that he promised to be or turn him into a complete fraud, because he's either going to have to sign these bills or veto these bills. and he's already vetoed one of his campaign promises. The question is, how many more is he going to do heading into an election year? He will be heading into an election himself. He'll be on the ballot. His leadership will be weighed on the scales. And if he is vetoing continually his own campaign promises, it's not going to look good heading into 2026. So, short story, long. Now, here's the long story short.
All right.
We got to fight like hell to make sure that this budget is as frugal and efficient as reasonably can be expected, that we're protecting taxpayer dollars. And then in the next year, we're taking back the majority, and we are going to drive an agenda that can fundamentally transform Pennsylvania in a positive sense.
How many seats are up for grabs coming up?
All of them.
Everybody?
Every 2 years, 203 seats are up. All of them. Now, granted, there's only with the way the new maps are, there's not that many competitive seats.
Right.
It's probably 15, 20, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
Depending on
most of them are going to go.
Environment.
They're going to go the way that they've gone, but some of them are. Are there some that you think are up for grabs more so than in the past? Yeah.
Yeah. With redistricting, there's new places to go to. There's interesting races that are going to be happening in every region of the Commonwealth. And the last 6 months, we've been recruiting candidates all over the Commonwealth, and we got some great candidates out there in Cambria County, great candidates in Bucks County, everywhere. All across the Commonwealth, and we're going to be ready to rock and roll and take this majority back.
State Rep Josh KAIL is my guest. What makes a good candidate? You just used the term, and I'm really curious as to what checklist goes. You say you recruit candidates. What are you looking for when you recruit a candidate?
Especially after the year that we've had, number one thing is authenticity. I want somebody that's actually telling me the truth as to why they're doing what they're doing, somebody that has a history of being effective in their field or what they're doing, that has a network within their community. But we need honest people in politics. And I know it sounds like a fairy tale, and maybe I'm a little idealistic, but my goodness, we need honest people. I am sick of these professional greaseballs, these mannequins that we keep electing that fool us into thinking that they're actually something, and then they go and do something else. So what we have to do, and I think it's my responsibility as an elected official, to before we get to the point where we get somebody up there that's just a mannequin saying whatever they think they need to say, we actually get an authentic person to present to a district. That's what people are going to be looking for as we go on. And I think it's one of the reasons why you look at the 2016 election. Trump versus Hillary. I think that was one of the problems Hillary Clinton had. She was viewed as inauthentic, as just someone that was going to say whatever she needed to say to get into power. I think that was one of the advantages that someone like Joe Biden had over Hillary in 2020, was he was viewed more authentic. Now, I would say that he has come out and totally not been the person that people thought that he was. I don't think he's moderately governed whatsoever, and he's got all kinds of problems. What he's doing on the border is a travesty and unbelievable that we're even dealing with a situation like that. And I don't usually indulge in national issues, but I'm just as a reflection on candidate quality and what people are looking for. John Fetterman, love him, hate him.
He's authentic.
Can't stand him. He is perceived as inauthentic. And quite frankly, lately, he has been somebody that doesn't just go along with the Democrat norms.
Yeah.
But what we can't afford anymore in this Commonwealth is somebody that says one thing and then goes, and when he's actually in power, does another. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for authentic people that are going to get after it, that are going to work hard, that care about the future of this Commonwealth, and want to actually do something to make it better.
How much of Harrisburg is there are people there to represent, and how much of Harrisburg is there are people there doing the job of being a politician?
Yeah,
because that's what you're
there's
talking
some of
about.
the latter. And I know my caucus better than the Democrat caucus, obviously, because I'm in the Republican caucus. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of very honest people in there that want. So here's the interesting part about state representative is it's a local enough district where you're representing a small enough group of people where you can be a very local candidate. And
you're connected because you're connected.
You got someone like a Jim Marshall, right, who is the people's people in his district. He's a guy that is beloved in his district. And the reason why is he is always and has consistently been focused on the interest of his district and moving his district forward. He is authentic in that sense. And as a local state representative, there isn't as much production. There isn't the television commercials. There isn't the need to go on Fox News or CNN or MSNBC. The real risk comes in when you're running for larger seats, right? Because you have to get your voice out in mass. And the only way to do that is to go through the production lanes, which is the media, which is other platforms that have a broader view on it. So that's when things start getting real dicey. I honestly do believe that in the state house, Republicans and Democrats, I disagree vehemently with many of the Democrats in their positions, but I do believe that they actually believe what they're saying. I can't say that about this governor. I don't know what he believes. I don't know what he stands for.
How much more difficult is it a moving political target if it is that way? I'm arguing against what you said, and now you didn't say what you said or you changed your mind. It's like we're not moving forward legislatively if we're going back and forth.
Here's what I've figured out. Here's what I have, I believe is how you can make an analysis on what's going on with this governor. If you really want to know what he's going to do, not what he's going to say, but what he's going to do, ask yourself this. What would a primary voter in California want me to do? Because that's what he's thinking. He's thinking about a presidential run eventually down the road. And in order to run for president, you have to win primary Democrat voters in California, in New York, in all of these different places that don't represent the values or interests of Pennsylvania. That's how he's acting. And that's been the one consistency. What would primary voters want in California? Well, they would want us to stay in this ridiculous energy tax and hurt our manufacturers. What would primary voters want in California? A more bloated government. One that provides services to illegal immigrants. What would primary voters want in New York? Well, they'd probably want more taxes because they believe in a more engaged, bureaucratically run government. It doesn't matter what you say, right? It matters what you do and how you perform. And quite frankly, the only thing that we can look at to determine where this is going or how this is going to go, ask yourself the question, what would primary voters, Democratic primary voters, want in California? Because that's exactly what is going to try and happen in Pennsylvania. That's what this governor's doing. And it's not, he may not believe it. I don't know what he believes, but I know what he wants. He wants to be president. So he's going to try and do whatever he can to get there.
In your mind, he is laying the groundwork for bigger fish.
Oh, that's not in my mind. That's
reality.
Yes, that's reality. And let me tell you, he's effective. He could get there.
Sure.
Like the guy is very sharp at this political game. Very good. Very talented.
You talk about the media and how to play the media. How much of that is a part of being a successful politician? How well do you have to be able to play the media, as you say, to win an election?
Well, I mean,
is it a necessary evil?
Yeah, statewide, like that, yeah. I mean, you got to know the earned media game. You have to understand how to communicate. You got to stay on message, be pointed, do all that stuff. But I will say that for us as state representatives, I can come in here and have a conversation with you, and we can talk about what's it called, Chuggy. We can talk about Chuggy and and what's going on with the kids.
You
and all
can
that
behave
other
like
stuff.
a human.
Yeah, that's right. It's just different because I have town halls where I talk to my constituents. I have different events every week where I go talk to my constituents. I have meetings today where I'm going to be talking to my constituents. As a governor or statewide or even congressional candidate, you can't cover enough of your district. There just isn't enough time because there's too many people. You have to cover it in mass, and that's where you need to understand how the media works and all those things. So it's one of the things I love about doing this job is you get to represent your local community. And you don't need all the fanfare. You don't need all the lights, camera, and action. You just get to talk to people, figure out what your region needs, and advocate for that in Harrisburg.
Do you have further political aspirations while we're talking about local and regional and state and
my
national?
only political aspiration right now is to retake the majority in the State House of Representatives.
What happens if that happens? The day after the election comes in,
Pennsylvania is going to be driving an agenda that matters out of the House of Representatives. That's what happens.
What needs to be an agenda topic that matters that isn't now?
Well, I mean, what we
besides
need
that 30% energy tax ludicrousness.
I know. What we'd be looking to do is deliver on hope for Pennsylvania families with an education system that invests in students and not systems. Deliver on an agenda of opportunities for families sustaining jobs by reducing the corporate net income tax and regulatory burdens, by providing prosperity for working families, by reducing inflation through reducing and getting out of that energy tax, right? That's going to cause more inflation as we go on, and by having excellence in government. Through permitting reform, welfare reform, ensuring that none of our cities are sanctuary cities so that we can make sure that we are taking care of our constituents and taking care of Pennsylvanians, and being a part of doing things the right way in this Commonwealth. Look, everybody, I think, across the political spectrum recognizes that parents need choices in education. I mean, you're talking 70, 80% issue. The governor campaigned on it. Yeah. We've been advocating for this for decades because it's the right thing. Everybody recognizes that Pennsylvania's business climate is poor. We have all the natural resources that we can have in a place, and we can't get the most out of it because our business climate is bad. Everybody understands that Pennsylvania is not New York, is not Delaware, is not New England, and we shouldn't be in this regional greenhouse gas initiative. The governor himself said it as well. We've been advocating against it as Republicans for a long time now, and everybody across this Commonwealth recognizes that 2 to 3 years to just get a permit is absolutely disgraceful for our state government. We all recognize these things. The question is, can we deliver? Can we deliver? And Eddie, it's not just about delivering these things. What's it really all about? You know, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. I have 6 siblings. I saw them move all across the country because there wasn't opportunities here. The best place in the country is Western Pennsylvania, in my mind. I love raising my family in Beaver County. My mother graduated from Center Township. My father was South Hills of Pittsburgh. Beaver County, Western PA, this place is awesome. But we can't stay here, and my kids can't stay here if there's no jobs here. That's what this is about. It's about jobs. It's about families. It's about growth. It's about building a better opportunity for our kids and their generation. And we have the opportunity to do that. Pennsylvania has the resources. We have the access to market. We have the workforce. We have the ingenuity. We have the grit to build a future here. But Harrisburg has to get out of the way. And the very, very unfortunate thing that I've seen over the course of the last year is we finally have a Democrat that recognizes that. We finally have somebody that's woken up and said, my goodness, the Republicans have been right for all of these years. He campaigns on it, gets in the office, and he goes back to the classic left status quo, bringing California to Pennsylvania. It's unacceptable. We got to hold him accountable, and that's exactly what we're going to do once we get the majority back.
State Representative Josh KAIL with me on Rapping with the Reps. I got about a minute left, Mr. KAIL. My final question to you is this. Has anybody looked at the PIAA's checkbook lately?
Yeah, so I mean there's another issue, right? I mean,
I poked you with a stick. I'm sorry.
This happened last year too, and it's amazing to me. All of a sudden, people are squawking this year in an election year, but last year the same issue happened, and the problem wasn't fixed, and it happens again, and now we're squawking about it. Come on, look, it's ridiculous. The PIAA should not have Aliquippa going up to the 5A, but I got to tell you something. If it does happen, I am looking forward to watching these schools come from the South Hills or come from places in Allegheny County or Washington County
90
and
people
have
rostered.
them come to Aliquippa and get their butts kicked. And let me tell you, within a year, Peters Township, TJ, Upper St. Clair, whoever they end up playing, I don't know who the schedule would be.
Right.
Those schools will be petitioning the PIAA and saying, get them out of 5A. We don't want to get our butts kicked every year.
Josh KAIL, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Eddie.
Man, what do you...
It's
you want to stay?
What do you got going? I got whatever you need, Eddie. All
right, I'm going to try and talk Josh KAIL into staying into the next hour. We'll see how it goes. It's Teleforum on Beaver County Radio.
Stop by your local McDonald's today and pick up everyone's favorites, the Shamrock Shake and Oreo Shamrock McFlurry, now available through March 24th. Don't miss out on these fan favorites. Shamrock Shake and Oreo Shamrock McFlurry, now at McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Beaver County Radio, your hometown radio station. You're listening live from the Fried Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fried Transportation. Proud to call Beaver County home.
Pennsylvania is a wonderful place to live out our golden years. We cherish the loved ones who cared for us, and now we must care for them. That includes looking out for signs that someone is trying to harm or exploit them, and taking action. Let's make sure all the older adults we know are living in the safety, comfort, and dignity we all deserve. If you suspect abuse, call Pennsylvania's Elder Abuse Hotline at 1-800-490-8505. Learn more at aging.pa.gov. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
This important message is brought to you by the Beaver County Office on Aging.
Love is in the air, and Valentine's Day is just around the corner. Why fight the crowds by going out to dinner? Cook dinner at home and let the East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Save be your one-stop shop for you to spoil your Valentine. For starters, at the East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Save, you can get your sweetheart flowers for the table and beer or wine to sip on as you wait for the main course. They have surf and turf, as well as a variety of steaks, seafoods, and chicken, along with everything else that you need for that special meal. The bakery at East Rochester and Tusca Shop and Save has treats as sweet as your sweetheart, like heart-shaped mini cupcakes and chocolate chip cookies. They also